Welcome. This is the Yarn Alchemist podcast with me, Francoise Danois. And here we examine the mindset and mechanism roadblocks that are holding you back from manifesting your full potential as a knitwear designer. Yarn Alchemist, and welcome to the Yarn Alchemist podcast. Now, you may notice already something a little bit different about today's episode is that you can actually see my face. Of course, I'm still providing the audio versions of this just in case you would like to listen to this on iTunes. So for those who are listening to this on iTunes, do know that you can now watch the video versions of these episodes on YouTube and on the websites in addition to the audio version. And so I am just testing out doing a video format to go along with the audio parts, because I always prefer, in addition, while I do like listening to podcasts sometimes, I do like being able to see the person on the other side. So if you're someone who likes to actually see my face or see faces of the people that you're listening to, then this option is for you. Whereas if you just like listening to podcasts and just listening to their voice, then you have that option as well. But today, let's get into today's episode. So I'm recording this February 11th, 2018. And today's episode was actually requested by one of you listeners. And you asked if I could talk about how to find a coach and things like that. Because apparently I talk a lot about my experiences of working with coaches and sort of being a coach as well. But I think now it's time to actually go about how to find one, because it can be a little bit daunting to find out somebody to work with. But basically, before we get into that, kind of just want to talk about what a coach is, and then we'll get into the steps of how to finding one, how to find somebody that's the right fit for you, and things like that. So a coach is somebody who I always like to consider is 10 steps ahead of you. They don't, just like any human being, they don't have everything together. At their point in their business, they're still working things out and things like that, but they are at a place that you kind of want to see yourself in a business. Because they've already gone through those steps to get to where they are now, and you just need some guidance and some, hand holding to get to that place. Also, they're really good for holding you accountable sometimes. For me, I know for my weekly, or not weekly, but we sometimes have some weekly calls, but monthly calls with my coach, it just holds me accountable to make sure that I am whatever goals I had set with my coach the month before, that I've done them, or I can just, check in and let them know where I'm at, what points I'm struggling with, what things I have learned, what things I could do better, and also to celebrate the wins, and then get some advice and feedback based on their experiences and perspectives. So I have several coaches. One is Kara Gottwaner, who was the former editor of Annie's Knitting, a creative knitting magazine, and now she is now a solo entrepreneur. She is the host of the Power Pearls podcast. She is my coach, and she is also available for coaching every month. On her Patreon for $50, I get a 30-minute coaching call with her, and I find her experience as a coach to be invaluable, especially as someone who worked in the knitting industry. She's been in the industry for 20 years, and so she has a lot of insights into the ups and downs of the knitting community, as well as being able to bring in some new ideas for, helping go forward with that. Other coaches I have is Chelsea Fitch, who is in Fiber Boss College, and she and we work together sometimes on a weekly, monthly basis, really focusing on the deep dives of my business, strategizing and planning out my quarter, finding what areas I can really go forward with, analyzing my weaknesses and what I can do better, and then coming up with a plan that I can go forward and execute. And basically execute and go forward with that. And then I have other coaches who are more on the week-to-week basis. I come up with any questions that I have. How can I tweak this current strategy that I'm doing to make it even more effective? How can I better plan out my time? Just somebody who can step outside of me and be able to see the full picture, seeing what areas I am missing. And it was a really recently So when talking about finding a coach and really figuring out what are the best questions to ask them. A coach, what I found it to be, is not somebody you want to fully rely on being like, can you just tell me what to do next? Like, okay, like you tell me what product I should create next. You tell me what I should be doing, yada, yada, yada. This was coming from a VIP day that I had with Chelsea. And this is something that I want to kind of like give to advice to you when you're looking for a coach and when you're wanting to work with somebody. You are the CEO of your business, even if you don't feel like it. This is something I had to really work on myself to really start feeling like I'm the CEO. I'm the person who comes up with the ideas. I'm the ones who say, I want to do this. Now help me find the best way to execute this so that I get the best results out of this possible. Of course, there are going to be some moments when they're just like, you may want to rethink that idea a little bit, but my coaches have taught me to really trust my own instincts and be like, okay, you want to do this? Okay, let's make this happen for you. For example, recently I said, I want to do a challenge every month because I feel like that's the best for my tribe and for my business. And then my coach was like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So let's get into work and to make sure that you can execute this idea without burning yourself out every month or, giving you that enough time to make the best usage of it. So that's one thing I want you to keep in mind when you are working with a coach, is that they're not here to tell you what to do in terms of you should make this product, this is what you should do all the time, yada yada. Of course, there's those things, but when you're working with a coach, what you're really looking for is somebody to help you come up with the best strategic plan for what you want to do, hold you accountable to that, and also like when you have your goals, they'll be able to break it down and make it feasible for you. I had another point I was going with that, and then I completely lost it, flew out of my mind. Maybe it'll come back to me as I'm talking some more. But just knowing from being coached from these different people, understanding that I have to really trust myself as the visionary and the leader of my brand, and then trusting other people to help me, that they understand what my vision is, and then getting me to those places that I want to be. Now, there's a really good actually blog post that Chelsea wrote a few months back that I'll link to in the show notes that was talking about the best, it was along the lines of the best questions to ask your coach, to get the most out of those coaching sessions. Because I found that when I was talking to one of my coaches, I would be like, okay, I asked her, like, is this a good idea? Is this a good idea? Should I do this? Should I do that? And she's like, yes, yes, yes. And then I was like, kind of felt a little bit deflated because I was like, well, I was expecting some more pushback when I realized I should have been asking, okay, I want to do this idea. What's the best way for me to get the most leverage out of this idea? Or how can I get the most signups for this challenge and things like that? Because I already know what I want to do. And you know what you already want to do. It's just how to get there and to make the most out of it, that you're just a little bit stuck on and that you need clarity. So that's the whole point of having a coach. It's not somebody telling you what to do. You run your business. You're in charge. They're there to help you be like, okay, based on my experiences, this is how that you can make this the best that you can. Now let's talk a little bit about how to find a coach. I mean, there's just so many ways to find a coach. Already, I'm going to tell you that I kind of do a little bit of coaching on the side as well, mostly for knitwear designers, going through the knitwear design process, and then how to launch patterns and helping a little bit with your knitwear design brand. So already, if there are people that you know who are coaches, you can reach out to them and ask if they do, you ask for what their fees are, what their quotes are. Not all design, of course, there's some people that you do admire, like such as designers that you wish they, you could always reach out to them and be like, ask them if they do offer coaching or something that they've ever planned on doing. But please do note that for these coaching services, don't ever expect them to be free. They are giving their time to you, and so in exchange for that time and their knowledge and their expertise, in exchange for that, you do have to pay them for that service. And of course, the coaching, how much they provide and offer, they do vary from coach to coach, and also on the service that they provide. For example, one-on-one coaching sessions are going to be much more expensive than I wouldn't say much more expensive, but they're going to be at a higher price point than grouping coaching calls. Because with one-on-one, it's focused on you and getting really deep into your business, whereas a group coaching call is more less time being spent on one person. Although I do think there's a lot of value to be found in group coaching calls, because when you hear the questions from other people and the answers from that, you can get a lot out of that as well. But usually with most coaches, I think they kind of set up, you definitely want to go to their website and check out their work. Double Points, if they have a Facebook group where they do live streams, so you can get a feel for their teaching style and the coaching style. You definitely want to, be coached by somebody that that you're comfortable with, that you've been following for a while, and you're also somebody who has some good, the credibility and the backup behind what they're teaching. Other things to keep in mind, just based from me, also just, again, you want to find somebody who is like another 20 points ahead of you. And that's where I found all my coaches, and that's why I chose them. But usually it's just a matter of reaching out to them and asking, what are you open to new clients? Do you do, of course, maybe first, if you don't even know they do coaching, are you open to coaching people and things like that? Then asking for what their quotes and fees are, and if they have any programs already in place. For me, on my website, and I'll link all this in the show notes, on my website I do have a 30-minute and a 50-minute call that I have set up, as well as a monthly Patreon program for those who want to be coached by me. That I did do a bit of coaching last year with some people. So I have two levels. I've got a 30-minute level one for $50 and a 90-minute level one for $100 a month. So if although I recommend people to sign up for that if they wanted to be coached by me, by first signing up for the just a one-time coaching call, which you can find on my website. So that's basically the difference. You got the one-time coaching call, and then the monthly on a recurring basis coaching call. So of course, one of the first steps to find, getting that coach that you need is just reaching out to them and just taking that first step, and then just trying to see if your personalities mesh with the coach that you are working with. Because, as with anything, a tech editor, copy editor, test editors, and things like that, you want to make sure that they work best for you. Because if you're with a coach that doesn't really jive well with you, you don't really like their teachings, the coaching style, and things like that, then that's not going to be the best solution for you. You do want to find somebody else. So that's pretty much all the advice that I have for today's episode. I know this one may have been a little bit shorter than usual, but this was definitely one I had to get onto soon because this was a request by one of you guys. But my main thing is just going out there and just starting the communication process to find the coach that you need, and just testing the waters and seeing how that goes. And so with that, thank you so much for watching and for listening, and I'll see you next time, Yarn Alchemists. And in the meantime, keep transforming your yarn. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Yarn Alchemist podcast. If you have a question that you'd like me to answer on a future episode, go to www.arohanets.com/contact to submit your query. See you next time.